So I watched Jeepers Creepers, and rewatching it for like the 80th time, 100th time, however, because it's been out since 2001. There were things that I've obviously knew what to expect, but at the same time, there were certain things now that I'm rewatching it that was like, I asked myself like, when was that scene added in, or when did they say that, or when did they do that? So I guess it must have slipped my mind a bunch of times, but actually taking the time to really sit there and soak everything in those little small parts, was pretty interesting for that first entry. I'm not going to get too much about Jeepers Creepers 2 or 3 or even, I think it was like the fourth one, Reborn or Rebirth. I really want to keep this first one self-contained, and then the next one will be a continuation to kind of see if everything still follows in the same continuity. So this is strictly just about Jeepers Creepers, period, part one or one. So my thing is, we've seen it a bunch of times. I will say that watching it again and seeing how it falls into, the storyline. Just watching the first entry, there was a lot of things that was that we never still got to revisit. And seeing it, I was very curious to almost ask like, okay, this could have been explained maybe a little bit more differently, or maybe they could have went into more depth. Like, I know the woman who was psychic, she didn't understand how she got the ability to see what she had seen. I think she could have maybe flushed out a little bit more. Maybe, since she was already a psychic, one day she came across an object of some sort, and that object was, different, and she kept it in her possession, and then therefore she was able to see visions of the creeper. But we didn't really get too much explanation, which is fine. It just kind of like, there was for like this woman that just knew when to call them, knew where they were going to be at, and things like that nature. But I feel like if she were to obtain a piece of the Jeepers person, would kind of tie a little bit more into the story. So that was kind of like the first thing that I felt like was like, whatever. The other thing was when they were in the diner, they like no one, like everyone's seen someone standing over there, like in their car sniffing like their laundry, and nobody thought like, hey, there's someone over there sniffing your laundry. They just all watched it happen until he took off, which I felt like in today's world, like you break in someone's car and you mean to tell me like, you're seeing someone, pretty much standing and sniffing someone else's laundry, and they're saying that this person just, ran them off the road, I would be kind of worried. I would definitely be kind of worried. So I felt like that writing was just kind of like, balls to the wall kind of writing, just because it really didn't make sense. It didn't really come fluid. The cops were kind of incompetent. They didn't really take the story serious, but I guess it's to be expected by like a low population of a town, but still take it more serious, because anything's possible. You got people who commit all types of acts of violence, and then they move to those small towns to continue doing what they do because of incompetence. So I felt like it gave me a little bit of like Texas Chainsaw meets like, Jeepers Creepers, but like just the incompetence of it all. What I thought was kind of interesting too was, now we get to the part where the creeper's chasing them, and what I thought was pretty funny was, the creeper chasing them on this highway, and they must be like in a 59 Chevy Impala, maybe 58, 57 Chevy, maybe Bel Air Impala. It's not an SS, but it's still something, almost a car. Not like, I don't know for that time how fast it would go, but I would assume it's a V8, so it should have some kind of horsepower, and for that beat up heat to kind of like out race it and pace it, I felt like was like, okay, for the sake of build up and suspense, but make it a little bit more believable. I'm not here to criticize the movie in what shape or form. Let's get that out the way. Let's get that straight. I'm just giving you just things that I've seen in the movie, so it's coming out like just random like parts and bits, because we've all seen the movie, so I'm just shuffling from the end to the middle, the beginning to the middle, whatever, just kind of give me like my whole take. Criticism, if you will. You know, this is just like a one-shot criticism. So back to what I was saying, you know, the car itself was odd because when the boy had drove it, it was fine. I guess he wasn't. You don't even really see him shifting gears. But when the girl Trish, I think her name was, drove it, it was like stuck all the time. So that was kind of like, well, what is it? Is it automatic or is it manual? Because I guess when the woman drives it, it's got to be stick. But when Danny drove it, I think his name was Danny Douglas or whatever, Danny. It was fine. It was like automatic. I barely seen him, you know, pop the clutch and shift gears. So, you know, there was that. And I'm like, you know, that was more funny to me. You know, the gears were getting stuck and I was like, well, yeah, your foot's probably not on the clutch. You know, so it was like, all right, you know, you need build up, which is obviously a given, but still, like, you know. What was cool was like the metaphor with the creeper beheading the cop and he getting the head, he's whistling Jeepers Creepers and he's, you know, eating the cop's face and it says, it tastes good. I thought like that was a nice little tidbit, at least for the movie's sake. At least that brought some nice humor and value to the movie. So that kind of like, everything I just talked about, it kind of like, I don't want to say voided it, but kind of like made it like, okay, well, we messed up here, but this is pretty decent as well. So I think that's like the saving grace for me with this movie. Now, one thing is I will say about the Creepers, I really want to know what's the significance to those songs. You know, every time he comes, they play the song, but like you would have to play it, you know, for a coincidence. Like I understand at the time we didn't have, you know, YouTube or it wasn't on our phones, so therefore we had the radio. But you could have implemented the song a little bit more times and just maybe through the radio and like the woman demonstrating it through the phone. I think they kind of misstepped that, you know, opportunity. But I'm really curious to see. When I watch the second one, I'm still going to talk about it. It's definitely going to be the Jeepers Creepers song because I feel like for a villain, that song would definitely be like a staple in his character lore for things to come. You know, just to kind of see where the creeper would be, where he kind of would stand as far as like hunting his prey, and then you hear the song, oh, he's getting closer, maybe the song, you know, starts or is in the middle of it, you know, so I feel like the song should hold some type of like place for when the creeper comes. But, you know, once again, we don't really know too much about it. It's very like nip-tuck secret for the first one, which I thought was pretty interesting. You know, you're trying to make this guy very mysterious. You're trying to like not say too much because you don't want to give too much away. You know, now the director, Victor, at the time, it had a good idea of it, you know, trying to make something of like a new horror genre of the new millennium, but due to his background, which I'm not going to speak on this, you guys could, you know, look him up, it really put like a damper on a lot of things and kind of pigeonholed that dynamic and just going more forward with the Creeper. So I guess having that, it really really wasn't for the best. It really wasn't, and like it really wasn't for like the best of the ability of that. So that kind of sucked. But when watching that movie, I really felt as if watching it again, you know, I really felt as if there are some good parts in here, but there are some parts that you would want to continue in the next film and in the next film, and I guess they kind of cut those on the, you know, in the writer's room or on the editing floor, so it gets mixed and tangled. Like his weapons, you know, we understand his weapons obviously later on in the movie, but the weapons that he had were very different from the one that he gets later on in the film. So there has to be some kind of like difference, and then also like who carries a big hatchet around? Like he had like a big ass axe, you know, but then he gets hit by a car, and then that axe is nowhere to be found. You see like some knives and stuff. So the continuity, I won't say was bad, but there was a couple of errors in the continuity. Like I know when Danny went outside to take a leak and he's driving off to the sunset, it was like pretty much the sunset. He was driving off and it was already it was like sundown. But then when he's back in the car and they're shooting, the sun is up. So that kind of was like for an obvious loop, just because it really put me in this place of like, well, is this daytime? Or are we still like when the sun is down? You know, so with pretty much with the whole movie, right? I'm just gonna, make this one a little bit more like different. But overall with the whole movie, it's still enjoyable. After all these years, it's still enjoyable. You still get a good feel. There's build up, and there's obviously suspense and cliffhangers to kind of have you hunger for more. So if you will, to figure out like who's he gonna kill, what's he gonna do, how's he gonna do it. I think even till the end, where we see, spoiler alert, Trish kind of not be chosen, but Danny being the one chosen that he's gonna get, and the whole fear mechanic, he feeds off fear, things that he needs and stuff like that. I think even to the end when she was brave enough to stand up to him, look him in the eye and say, take me over my brother, and he did it, which was still strong and pretty impactful. I really wish that character was in more of like the series going forward, or even like they did a TV show going forward, where she's pretty much on this revenge trip to avenge her brother, because of the situation that happened. Maybe she felt powerless and she doesn't want to feel like that again. So this time around, she's going to, avenge her brother, which anyone would, especially with an entity like that. But I would say, just in this movie alone, one scene that got me pretty, that caught my eye was when they were running him over, and you see like the leg, pretty much gone, decomposed. You see his arm with the tire marks and burned. That's something that was new, because I remember seeing like him running him over and then them driving off. But I didn't remember that slight detail, so I thought that was cool. I thought that was maybe like a deleted scene or like an uncut version of it, which was really good, really interesting. The only thing that I wish that they would have bring in to the scene, that I know that's a deleted scene, is when the creeper is in the Catwoman's house. I'm gonna call it a Catwoman. She has all these cats in her damn house, and he kills her. In the deleted scene, he kills her and he speaks, which I thought would have been an interesting direction. But I guess they left that out. They didn't want to give the creeper too much lines and how he would speak and what he would say, because we know he could whistle. That's a given. They kept the whistle in, which I thought the whistle was creepy. The whistle was pretty good enough. But to have him speak would be definitely, it would be definitely interesting, to say the least. Just imagine him just sniffing you out and just popping some shit. So I thought that was kind of like that would have been an interesting take. But the runtime was small, maybe like an hour and 30 minutes, 38 minutes, give or take. It's real small, real condensed. It's just mainly the protagonist, his brother and sister, and you have like the antagonist, which would be the creeper, and then like the supporting cast, which would be like no one really big that's really there except for the psychic woman. So it was done on a very tight niche casting compared to the second one, where they kind of had more of a bigger budget and they expand on it. We will say that, just for the sake of keeping it in the first movie, that we know that this takes place during the springtime, because Danny is obviously off from college. It's like spring break. They're going to see their mom. They're taking the highway. They're on a road trip. So we do know it's spring break. We just don't know the day and the month. And that's something that we'll definitely come back to and revisit in the second Jeepers Creepers. So, this is definitely my one shot for Jeepers Creepers. Stay tuned for the Jeepers Creepers 2 on my one shot on that. I think with the one shots, I'm just going to be doing something a little bit more similar to this, trying a whole new format. So it's definitely going to be a new challenge for me and a new learning curve, which I'm kind of happy and eager to try. Not a review, a discussion, a breakdown, what I like, what I didn't like, and so forth, and things like that. But I definitely want to try it and work on it as I go forward for the month of October for you guys. So like you seen, like I did with Ahsoka, obviously behind me, I'm going to be doing a lot more one shots of this, just to kind of give you my thoughts, my breakdowns, and what I like, what I didn't like, and so that I'm not going to say go and see the movie or rent it or whatever, because it's been out for so long. I'm just here just to give you my appeal. And then what I would more than likely do is collectively, after watching 2, 3, and that god awful Rebirth or Reborn, definitely give you my whole take and what would I do differently to kind of make it all fit in one timeline and one continuity universe, because there's going to be a little bit of some continuity issues due to just the years of when it came out, the casting, storytelling, same director, but just a little bit of changes here and there. So there's things that I would have kept that were kind of pivotal to the story about the Creeper, and there are things that I would have left. There are things that I would have had this character live and done this, and I would have killed this character in that way to have this person realize you need to get the F out, you know. But that's definitely going to conclude my one shot. For you guys that aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Also leave a comment down below, let me know what you think about these one shots that I'm doing. If it's something that you guys are liking or you want to see more of it, go right on ahead. We can get a conversation going at any time. Let's see. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, also on Twitter. The links will be on the description below as well. So that's going to conclude it. Until then, you guys take care, be safe out there, and definitely have a happy Halloween.